Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 7:05, so we're a little behind, but kind of figured that would be the case. I know there was an accident on the bridge this afternoon and slowed traffic, and two of them. I only saw the one, so. But thank you for coming out here this evening. Hopefully we'll make good use of our time, learn some new things. My name is Beau Breeden. I am the president of the Broadneck Council of Communities. I have served as president previously, but this is my first year back on after Pat, so I think we may be the only two people to have served as presidents in the 17-year history. I also serve as vice president of the Cape St. Clair Improvement Association, and I'm the president of the Eastern District Police Community Relations Council for the Eastern District Police here where we all live. But tonight, our main part of the meeting here, just to kind of have some general remarks and welcome everybody. It's election season. We'd like to introduce a few of the candidates that are on the ballot that maybe don't get seen as often or we don't get to see out in the community, so just a few minutes by them. Our Board of Education are very important, and then also our judges. So we have two candidates from Board of Education and two candidates of the four candidates for the Judge Circuit Court here in Annapolis County. We will then hear from State Highway Administration and Soos, and Pat will have a further introduction when we get to that point. But we'll hear a little bit more about Route 50. Every meeting, I think we hear about Route 50 in some way, but hopefully have some news about the pilot programs that have been ongoing with Route 50 and Bay Bridge traffic. And then finally, we'll hear from our Councilwoman from District 5 on wrap-ups of the Region 4 planning office and zoning for the GDP, and then also other things going on that may be hot legislation that's happening right now. But just appreciate everybody coming out. We plan to have probably one more quarterly meeting here before the end of the year, so be on the lookout for that. We always want to welcome both individuals and communities to join the Broadneck Council of Communities. We meet as a board on a monthly basis on the fourth Thursday of the month. So we have a wide variety of communities, diverse group of the communities around the Broadneck Peninsula, but we'd like to see more. We've had a few others join here recently, which is good. So maybe there's some new active board members also, but if you're interested in joining, you can see Peter in the back, you can see Barbara, Roy, or GD, or us up front here, and consider joining as an individual. If you don't belong to a community, we have that option, but also if you're interested in your community getting involved, we do a lot of work throughout the year in coordinating for residents here on the peninsula. What I'd like to do next is just kind of move along to our introduction to candidates. First, we have our Board of Education, District 5, and we have first LaToya Nkongolo. I got it. Just take 3 minutes and take your opportunity to stand up and introduce yourself.
And first I want to say happy birthday to Beau. So, yes, it is his birthday. You didn't know that, did you?
Thank you.
So Beau actually pronounced my name right. I was going to tease him tonight, but if you've seen any signs with a weird last name, it would be me. So my name is LaToya Nkongolo. And I have been a resident of Anne Arundel County for 15 years. I've actually served Anne Arundel County in a variety of leadership capacities over the last 17 years. So a lot of our elected officials encouraged me to run, including this lady here, along with my state delegate and also several sitting board members, because I've worked in legislation behind the scenes for many, many years. But I was encouraged to run because I'm actionable, I get things done, and quite frankly, people have grown concerned about our students and the data. I know the data is probably going to be justified and manipulated tonight, but I just want to share some of that with you after I share a little bit about my background. So I'm a licensed mental health therapist. So like I said, I've been in Anne Arundel County for 17 years. I work with a lot of children and students. So I have firsthand knowledge of what the kids' struggles are and what supports they need. So I want to bring my expertise to the Board of Education. I also operate a mental health clinic in Glen Burnie. I've been serving in Anne Arundel County for 17 years. I actually partnered with the last two county administrations on issues around behavioral health and the opioid epidemic. So not only did I work for the county and work with the county, the last two county executives, I've built quite a few successful programs to address behavioral health issues, and I also managed some budgets, and I saved you guys some money during those years. So what happened is that, I started growing concerned with the clients that I work with, hearing the stories from children and families, and I felt like it was time for me to step up. So I started to look at the data afterwards, and I have the data here. I'm not going to go into details, but I'll leave them on the back for you. But we've seen a decline since 2018 in critical key areas, and those areas are reading, math, science, okay? And it's not getting any better. We've seen a slight uptick, maybe 1% to 2% since our new superintendent has been here in Anne Arundel County. But at that rate, it's going to take us decades to get our kids up to speed. And this is a very critical election because we need someone who's aggressive and bold that's going to make sure that academics is put first over political and social agendas. So if I look at the data here, just to give you a snapshot, in 2023, our overall SAT score is 971. To get into our state college at the University of Maryland, you need a minimum of 1360, and I know because my daughter's in the honors college there. So our kids cannot compete statewide or nationally, and this is a crime. We pay too much money into our system for our kids to be falling behind. We have an 8.8 graduation dropout rate. If we have 85,000 students enrolled in the schools, that means we have 7,480 students that are going to go out in the world and they're going to be undereducated and unemployable. So we cannot afford to go in this direction any longer. So my goal is to reverse that downward trend, and that's why I'm running for the Board of Education. And I only have 3 minutes, so I will be here afterwards to speak with you all. If you have any questions for me, I'll leave my materials on the back, and I'll answer any questions that you have about the data. Thank you.
Next, we have our current Board of Education member, Dana Schallheim.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to see all of you again. I'm Dana Schallheim. I was elected to the Board of Education November of 2018. I was born and raised in Los Angeles County, California. I have 2 degrees in business, including an MBA, and I'm teacher endorsed, secretaries and assistants endorsed, and endorsed by roughly 24 state and county elected officials. Just to run through some accomplishments before we get to the data released by the school system. Since I was elected in 2018, we've paid teachers much, much better. I restored with along my colleagues.
Put it on the table.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
thank you.
Sorry.
Just leave it on the table.
Okay, great. Roughly 8 steps in total. That's 5 frozen steps from the last economic downturn, and up to 3 docked experience steps. So we're paying them much more on par with what they deserve to be paid. We hired a nationally recognized superintendent. That's Dr. Mark Bedell, and he's fantastic. I've celebrated our military families, including successfully advocating for our junior ROTC programs to become magnets with bus transportation that eliminates that barrier to access. And I also developed the first and only of its kind in the country service award that gives money to our graduates that are enlisting to serve the military after graduation, because serving in the military, there's no higher honor than that. I celebrate college and career education, including massive support of our Centers for Applied Technology North and South, and all of those wonderful programs that includes, including let's see, carpentry, HVAC, all of those types of programs, cosmetology, medical programs, things of that nature, as well as internships, which very much align with the blueprint. And lastly, before I get into data that comes from the school system, we've had the lowest teacher vacancy rate in years under Dr. Bedell's leadership and with the support of the board, and our transportation crisis that we had a couple years back has been all but solved. So, despite what some are saying, these come exactly from Dr. Bedell, from a meeting the other night, and also in the press releases you may receive, etc. So, let's get started. Also, we've implemented new science and reading curriculum that includes phonics and new math curriculum, but on top of that, AP scores, 3rd consecutive year. The number of students that take the AP scores has gone up. The average score has gone up, and the percentage of students getting a 3 or more, which is considered passing, has also gone up. So that would be this Done on top of the mic. Three fingers. This right here, and I can talk about this and I'll leave this in the back as well. And graduation rates. So graduation rates have also gone up. Five of our high schools have a graduation rate of 95% or better. Another 6 have a 90% or better graduation rate. And we've also closed gaps with our socioeconomically disadvantaged children, homeless children, English language learners. That has all increased. The boogeyman, MCAP. It's one data point. I personally have an aversion to state testing, but it's what we have. None of the superintendents in the state currently like the MCAP. But we've also seen increases in those scores, both in English language arts and in math. And we're the best in the Baltimore area, and we're 3rd in the state in English language arts and 4th in math. And then just some more gaps that we're closing. This chart shows our Black African American students versus all students, and the Black and African American students are in orange, all students are in blue. We've made some great strides there. Am I being called? Okay. So anyway, I would love to talk to you about what I would do in a second term, answer some questions about the facts afterwards. Thank you for having me.
Yep, thank you very much. Next up, we have, we'll probably need the microphone back since he's on this side of the table. The judge for the Circuit Court of Anne Arundel County. I imagine most of us don't follow along with the elections of the judges, the process. I know it's actually much more complex than most of us give it credit for. Not only do you usually have to be you have to be a lawyer in the legal field, but often the process, I don't know how many are familiar with it, but at the end of the day, there's a long appointment process that occurs when appointed a judge, and then once you've been appointed a judge, if you have to be elected at the next election in order to stay on. And that's the point at which others can then run and challenge that also at the same time. So first we have Mr. Thomas Casey.
Thanks a lot, Beau.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for giving me a few minutes to speak to you this evening. My name is Tom Casey. I'm running for Circuit Court Judge in Anne Arundel County. I am a 25-year member living in the county. I'm the son of Irish immigrants. They came over. My dad was in the Air Force for 12 years, and I'm one of 5 children. I'm the youngest. Family is very important to me. I have great timing. I have 27 years of legal experience, and it's a broad brush experience working across a lot of different areas, including time here in this very county as a prosecutor. Why am I running? I'm tired of seeing the crime that's coming into the neighborhoods. I'm tired of seeing the ATM issues that go on, and I'm also tired of seeing the inconsistencies that happen on the bench. For example, in August, there was a case where there was a child porn case where a teacher at St. Mary's School in Annapolis was found guilty. The prosecution asked for 18 months. He got 90 days. That's teaching children out of school. Is that okay? I don't know all the facts and circumstances, so we'll give a little credence to that, but that seems a little light to me. Another time, just this summer, there was another case that was tried where there was a rape involved with the midshipman, as well as an underlying charge of aggravated assault. The defendant was found not guilty of the rape charge, but there was a mistake made in not giving the correct jury instruction on the aggravated assault, so the prosecution couldn't go forward on that. The case was sent back down, and the prosecution eventually let the case go because the victim couldn't make the time back. And the outside counsel, the defendant's counsel wanted to go ahead and push for the case to be heard by the end of August. Again, mistake, everybody can make mistakes, it's human. But we need to demand excellence of the bench. And I got 27 years of legal experience where I put excellence as first and foremost. And I have a broad brush experience. I do business law, I've done commercial law, I've done administrative law, I've done family law, and my opponent here tonight is a career prosecutor, and is probably a very good one. But it's all, again, on criminal law, which is great. The crime is only, the criminal cases that come before the circuit court is only 28% of the cases, 28%. That means there's 72% of other, which includes civil, family, juvenile, etc. So you need someone to be able to handle all that. And there's also somebody that makes sure they pay attention to details and gets everything right when you come into the court. That's what I want to offer you. I wanted to come back and give back to the community, and I want to make a difference. If you vote for me, I guarantee you I'll make a difference. Please vote for me, Tom Casey, for Judge Circuit Court. Thank you for your time.
Great. And lastly, we have Judge Christine Celeste.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here and speak with you today. It has been my privilege for the last 23 months to serve as a judge on the circuit court. I can tell you that there is already excellence on our bench. I personally am very proud of the fact that I regularly get compliments from lawyers, from sheriffs, from the court staff on my handling of difficult cases. And the reason I believe that I'm able to adeptly handle the cases is because I spent my entire career trying cases in the circuit court. Now, Mr. Casey wasn't entirely correct about my career. I was a prosecutor for 15 years, 3 of which I spent on a detail to the United States Attorney's Office, where I tried complex criminal cases in federal court. I then went to the Attorney Grievance Commission, where I tried ethics cases for 2 years in circuit courts across the state. And immediately prior to my appointment, I was a member of the Office of Chief Counsel to Customs and Border Protection, where I primarily represented the agency in employment litigation in federal tribunals such as the EEOC and the Merit Systems Protection Board. So my entire career has been in litigation, but not all in practicing criminal law. I believe that in order to be a judge, you should give everyone a full opportunity to be heard, apply the law fairly and impartially, and treat every person in front of you with respect. And when you do that, even if people leave the courtroom without the verdict that they wanted, they leave with the feeling that the process is fair. And so I think that is so very important. Now, what is the best test of whether or not someone can do a job? Well, whether they are doing it, right? So I have been a circuit court judge for 2 years. Judge Jackson Stevenson, who's not here tonight, but who is my running mate, has been a judge since January of 2023, so has been doing the job for about 10 months now. And we're both doing it very successfully because we both do have that background in trying cases in the circuit court. I ask everyone to really do your research. What Mr. Casey didn't tell you about his background is that he has not handled a case in the circuit court in the last 19 years. It's very important to have experienced people on the court. I can tell you that everyone who is on the court is there because we want to serve the community. I hope you will give Judge Jackson Stevenson and I a chance to continue serving the community and vote for us on November 5th.
Thank you. So everybody will have the opportunity for, if the candidates stick around, a meet and greet at the end for about half hour before we kick everybody out and I go celebrate my birthday. Watching football, but right now though, I'm going to turn this over to Pat Lynch and let her introduce our next speaker.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you. We have an excellent speaker tonight from State Highways. When I called Will Pines and asked if Will would come back, because he's already spoken to us, and of course we're all interested in the Bay Bridge traffic, and he nominated Teri Soos. So I'm introducing Teri Soos, who is the Deputy Chief Operating Officer for State Highways, reporting to Will Pines, who's the head of State Highways and the administrator for. She has a little bit of responsibility to keep our highways moving. She is responsible for materials management, maintenance, emergency responses, congestion management, and highway safety, and provides leadership during emergency and weather-related incidents. So I think you probably have a few naps to take on a Saturday. She has over 24 years of experience in civil engineering, highway design, and highway operation. Teri Soos.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Beau. Happy birthday. It is also my father's birthday today.
Oh, wow. There you go.
As Pat said, I'm here on behalf of Will Pines. Will is our administrator and has been here before. Right now, this season is what we call our CTP season, our Consolidated Transportation Plan, where Will and the Secretary of Transportation and our other modes go out and meet with every county and Baltimore City. So he is in Carroll County tonight at another meeting. Our district engineer, who you have probably met before as well, Kim Tran, is also at a community meeting this evening on Maryland 2. So you're stuck with me. But helping me tonight, we do have Jonathan McCoy. Jonathan is with Kim's office in Annapolis, our District 5 office, and he is the traffic engineer. And I also wanted to mention that we met with Delegate Bagnall this morning. So she shared some, she also had a previous commitment, and she couldn't make it here tonight, but she shared some community feedback that she has received in her office. And we've been in coordination with Senator Guile, who has also provided us conversations regarding some of the operations on our ramps and US 50 in particular, and other community issues. So she's actively engaged with the State Highway Administration as well. So our ramp management that we've been trying out now, we still call it a pilot. It's been 2 summers now. So we started in the summer of 2023. We again engaged in some operations this summer. We started May 17th, so just before Memorial Day, and we wrapped up August 31st, so Labor Day weekend. So what we've been trying to do is, what we've been trying to do for years is keep traffic intended to cross the Bay Bridge on US 50. We would like them to stay on US 50 and not use the service roads, not use the local roads, keep those open for other operations. So this year we tried something a little bit different. We only closed the one ramp at exit 32, Oceanic Drive. So we closed the ramp onto US 50 eastbound, so that's the one closest to the Bay Bridge. And that closed 10 a.m. on Fridays and stayed closed until 6 p.m. on Saturdays. To help spread the word about what the plan was and how that affected other travelers, our public relations team did public outreach. We did use social media. We do use the big overhead highway signs to help get that message out. And then we have some smaller electronic signs that we try to inform people that those service roads are local roads and that they should stay on US 50, and that ramp at Oceanic was closed and they would not have access to the Bay Bridge. Additionally, we added a full signal at Maryland 179 and Bushes Frontage Road. So that was activated in May. Previously, it was a flashing red beacon. It's now a full color signal. And in July, we did modify some of the signal timing. I know it might not be perfect, but we're trying to tweak that and make those operations more efficient. So since the season just ended, Labor Day, we haven't completed our full analysis. And this is a little bit more of an art instead of a science in how we approach this. So we're really here tonight to receive feedback from the community about what you saw, how operations went this summer. But our preliminary analysis shows that it is helping. But 2023, we did have better operations than we did in 2024. That's one thing we already know. So one factor to consider in that is that we seem to have really good weather in 2023. So when we have good weather, that Bay Bridge goes into two-way operations, as you probably all know, but there's 3 lanes that go across in the eastbound direction, and that really helps to manage traffic on the eastern or the western shore. This summer, we had a few days where there were wind restrictions or other restrictions where they couldn't operate two-way traffic. So that one span that switches 2 ways could not go into two-way operations when there's wind restrictions, but they don't want that because, you know, trucks might move around on the bridge. So that really affects that. So when there's only 2 lanes crossing the bay, there's just simply not enough capacity. And we call that an oversaturation of our roadways. So that traffic just tends to spread out everywhere. So even though we had signs and we had all of those things in place, that traffic did end up on the service roads and the local roads, and there's just congestion everywhere. However, it's still, when we look back at 2022, when we didn't have any ramp management in place, this still seems to be an improvement on the service roads, even when those conditions occur. So I believe it was the worst conditions we saw in 2022. There were 600 vehicles per hour in the lanes on the service roads. And with this, even on those days when we had a high saturation, there were 350 vehicles per hour on those service roads. So there's still what we call a better level of service with those operations, even though we know it's not perfect. So I guess to conclude, I'll just say that we know this is not the ultimate solution. The ultimate solution is more lanes across the bay so that there is more capacity in both directions at all times, even during weather events. However, in the interim, you know, we are trying to help make this a better situation for the community. And we do think that this is helping. But we haven't made our final determinations for the summer of 2025. So we're here tonight to receive that feedback from you. We'll dive a little deeper into our analysis, and we'll make those determinations closer to the spring of 2025. Yes, sir.
Do you have any numbers or ideas about the impact of the bridge being down in Baltimore? Are we getting a percentage increase in the volume coming our way to avoid the Baltimore?
I don't have those exact numbers. That's a very interesting question. I did hear from the other side, the Queen Anne's County side does think that they're getting much more traffic from New Jersey and Delaware coming across that way as well. So we can check into that.
If you were a tractor trailer truck, would you want to go through Baltimore 2 hours or come this way?
No, good question. Thank you. Are there feedback questions?
Do you know if this year when I was looking on, like, seeing what traffic was like to get over the bridge, I saw Waze and Google Maps were now allowing you to know that the side roads were open again, whereas last year, if I searched, it would not give you the local option to go. So if you were on the GPS systems, you know, if you were coming from Severna Park, it kept you on, it didn't say turn on College Parkway, or if you were going on 50, it didn't, or Annapolis, it didn't take you to back roads. And this year, this summer,
It did.
I noticed that
Okay.
they were just telling everybody, which I think is a huge factor.
You're correct. So we do try and coordinate with Google Maps and Waze and Apple Maps and those other navigation applications. So when we close, we do call them and tell them it's closed. So during those times on Friday and Saturday, we do tell them. However, if people are sneaking through, it will pick up the data and it will show that it's open. But it is very important that when it is closed, that it's closed. So we can coordinate and make sure that's tightened up.
Are they doing that because they're being nice and you're asking them, or can you enforce that with them? Because I felt like it was always just, I mean, it was night and day this summer to last summer with that.
Sure, so it is manned during the day. However, it is not manned at night. So we do have our crews sit there during the day to help enforce the closure.
No, I meant, can you force Google and Waze to not put it as an option to go on the local road?
So we do call them and we do try and coordinate, but they use the data from cell phones. So, you know, everyone, when you hit accept, they are tracking you. So if people are sneaking through, it will show. So I'm on the Queen Anne's County side, I know that one of the business owners put in a driveway, and and Google Maps and Waze picked up that driveway and was sending people that way. So it will pick up any way that people are going, but we can try and tighten up that coordination with them to make sure that it shows closed when it is closed. All right. We'll start on this side, we'll move over.
Mine is not a question, it's more of a comment. I live off of St. Margaret's Road, and I have noticed that it does seem like traffic is a little bit lighter on St. Margaret's Road. But I'm now seeing a stacking problem because you're bringing everybody in to get on that one exit at, by the Wawa. And people are coming down College Parkway, people are coming on St. Margaret's Road, and they can't go anywhere because 50's not moving. And so the traffic just backs up in both directions. On the weekends, Friday and Saturday, I've had experiences both times where I can't get home. I either have to get on Route 50 to go go west in order to get back to my house because I can't get through that intersection.
Wow.
I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but.
Do you think that's because of the light?
Well, even if the light turns green, you can't go because the traffic's not moving. That everybody's trying to get down that ramp to turn, and if two cars get through, then they're blocking the intersection, or they're just sitting there, and everybody else is still waiting for some opening for the next car to even be able to get to the ramp to get down there because 50's not moving. So there's nowhere the cars to go.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it's something we can look at, yeah. How about, I'll move over this.
Getting back to St. Margaret's Road, I live off St. Margaret's. Why can't they at Sharps and Old Annapolis and St. Margaret's Road put one of those portable signs stating that you can't get onto 50 off of St. Margaret's? Then they would have to turn onto Old Mill Bottom or go down to Cape St. Clair Road. And with the new light at Old Mill, I have found that if you, coming up to Old Mill to turn on to St. Margaret's, it has an arrow going left. You don't need an arrow on St. Margaret's from Old Mill Bottom. However, going east on St. Margaret's, there is no arrow, and traffic going west on St. Margaret's gets to the point that if you're trying to turn left on the Old Mill Bottom going east on St. Margaret's, you can't do that because traffic going east, and then the light turns red again, and you sit through numerous rotations before you can finally turn left on. And I did send in a reply stating that all they have to do is move the arrow sign or arrow light off of Old Mill Bottom and put it on the eastbound side of St. Margaret's.
You got that?
Yeah,
Okay. Jonathan took all that down. We will look at it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you should go back to the 2023 times of the shutdown of that exit. That was not enough time this year. I live off of Colbert by Whitehall. And people, I know you've got signs everywhere. People are not, they're doing what they want to do. We've come out and I try to go west on the access road. I mean miles, 5 miles long. People are just doing whatever they want to do. They're just not, you're not going to tell me that I can't get on that access road.
So you prefer the Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Yes.
Yep.
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 Yes.
Sir, okay. Yes, sir.
This is a safety issue. Those wonderful signs that say, stay on Route 50. Some good examples are the one that's on eastbound 50 on the far right side of lane 4, just prior to going on to the Severn River Bridge. What those signs are is they're right up to the white line on the right side of lane 4. Same thing on lane 1 and only 1 of eastbound College Parkway at Baydale Drive. It's right up to the white line. There's a similar one somewhere on Route 50, about where the eastbound, where the automobile sales retailers are. And there's a couple more. My suggestion would be, those signs are fully visible at the white line. They're equally visible if they were 10 feet to the right, even if it means putting them on the dirt or the mud or the grass. And I understand why they're there. It's easy to reach them with a tow truck. But they could be just as easily moved off the road 10 more feet to the right of the white line. And the chance of the fear of drivers moving, hitting it, I haven't witnessed such, but it's always a sense of anxiety looking at it, that it's right there at the white line.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
A question for clarification. Was exit 30 at Whitehall Road open this year and closed last year?
Correct. So exit 30, right near, yes. So exit 29
East of Angers.
and 30 are quite close to each other.
Yeah.
In order to kind of save manpower, we only closed the one exit 32.
Not 32.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but in a personal observation, first Friday in August, my family and I left late morning to go to the Eastern Shore. And we know you go back on St. Martin's. Well, everybody was going down East College Parkway. And we were just shaking our heads. It's closed down there, it's closed. Well, yeah, sure enough. As soon as we got into the queue on 50 to the bridge, we saw the same vehicles that had gone down eastbound on East College Parkway coming westbound on Whitehall Road.
That's right.
To get on at 30. And I go,
That's because Waze didn't have the exit 32.
yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's
Okay.
like those poor people on Whitehall Road.
No, they didn't have the sign.
That's it. They don't care about the sign.
They said it was closed. They said, oh,
Right.
I'll just go around, and then you get up there and it's like, 10 minutes closed, and I gotta go all the way back around.
One other thought on these exits. Other states have, in particular Virginia, they have barriers. And go ahead and build the barriers and then control them to open during the middle of the week and close them on the weekend.
That is one thing we are considering, yes, sir.
A couple in the back.
Yep, in the back.
I just want to say thank you for your efforts because it has gotten better. I live off where the old exit 31 used to be. And I would like you to consider if there's a way we can improve the traffic flow on that road because it's now a three-way stop. Folks coming out of our neighborhoods stop. Local folks stop at the two stop signs. Folks going to Sandy Point, folks from Virginia, folks that are not familiar with the area, fly in both directions through those stop signs. And it's really dangerous. It's always been a little bit like that, but it's worse now because people are like, ooh, I can get on 50. And they zoom down there and then they see they can't and they just whip it around. And those of us that live there, like we're all really like, we stop and we're really looking, but people that aren't familiar, I don't know if the stop signs could be made a little bigger or we could paint a big white line on the ground. It's just something to kind of let people know to cool it as they come through there because we're taking our lives on our hands starting out in the neighborhood when folks are on the side road and they're not familiar with the area.
No, thank you for that comment, and I think our team at District 5 is currently doing a study on that. They plan to finish that study this fall, so we can get you some more information on that. Yes, sir.
Why'd you let, I think Pat's in, then up
No,
there.
it's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead, Pat.
Could you give us an update on NEPA 2, the status, and when we're going to get a report on it?
Sure, that is, so the NEPA,
Does everybody know what NEPA 2 is? NEPA 2 is the second phase of the study for the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, new bridge, replacement bridge, whatever the case might be. NEPA 1 was completed. NEPA 2 is currently ongoing. They're both environmental impact studies. It's the furtheration of it. It's the 4 options, the no build and the 3 other options, and the cost, design, and all those options. And that's where they're at, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So like you explained, and I'll just say that study is being led by the Transportation Authority. They operate the Bay Bridge State Highway as a partner in that, but we're not the lead on the study, but I did get an update from the Transportation Authority. The study is holding public open houses in late fall. There will be virtual and in-person open houses expected to take place the first 2 weeks in December, and they will be announcing exact dates very soon.
For the NEPA 2, how many years does that typically take to be, completed?
For the study?
NEPA 2 portion of the study.
I would say their biggest challenge is identifying the funding and moving that forward.
So it's kind of open-ended.
It's a 5 to 7 when you look at when they explain it all, but it's sort of a 5 to 7 year, but the back end of it is open-ended to the sense that you're identifying federal funding and state funding to pay for it.
Okay, but for the build.
And or bonds from the MDT, the Transportation Authority.
Okay, but the study itself will conclude with a recommendation to do one of those 4 options.
A selected alternative, yes.
A selected alternative.
Yes.
And then the financing and build happens.
Yes, and the design and all of that, yes.
And when do you believe that the option will be selected? How long until?
Are we in year 2 or year 3?
I believe they're doing the public open houses in December, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did they say they should have the selected alternate in 2026?
Oh my God.
Okay. Well, that's
you're sort of in year 2 now, going into year 3. Next year is year 3, 4.
What I was looking for, just to get a sense of.
2025 or 2026?
Selected in 26 and then funded by 27 maybe,
and built by
design
31.
it by 34 and build it by 39.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes. I just want to follow up on that Key Bridge traffic question you asked earlier. It seems like that your emails about traffic backups are coming more often, not just on the weekends, but on the weekdays as well. Are you seeing an overall volume increase of traffic there across the bridge? And if you are, where's it coming from?
That's a good question. They are also doing the redecking project on the Bay Bridge right now, so they are having some construction. I would have to, coordinate with the team, with the Transportation Authority and our team, try and get you a full answer on that one. Yeah.
Are those answers you could provide us and we could get them back out to everybody?
So yeah, we are I live closer to Baltimore, and we're monitoring the traffic in the tunnels. There is a big increase in the tunnels, and we are seeing about a 5% increase in traffic on the Baltimore Beltway as well. So I don't know how much of that is coming this way, but we can certainly try and get you that answer. And all the way in the back.
Hi. Yeah, I had a question about the bridge protection. I know it's different outfit altogether, but you're all under transportation. And I thought maybe the Transportation Authority had already had a proposal for that, but then I stopped seeing it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'd have to defer that to the Transportation Authority, and I do think it's a question we're going to be looking at the BRIDE committee.
Are you asking about protection in the water?
I'm sorry, yeah, I should have
Okay.
clarified. I meant protection for the bridge people.
The bridge itself, yeah.
Because
Okay.
I was hoping that the Key Bridge incident might precipitate some kind of better control on that, because there was a major ship that lost power
Just recently, yep.
Thankfully, they were able to stop traffic, which is a good thing to know, but,
Again, ma'am, yes, I'd have to defer to the Transportation Authority.
Time for a couple of questions left. Go.
Here and then.
Yes, hi. I'm Teresa Miller. I'm the treasurer of the Carnal Preservation Council. We have a great deal of concern about the safety of Route 2 regarding a potential development of a Chick-fil-A drive-through only in the Harlem area. We would like to know who in SHA is looking at safety in the design of that development and how a community can interject our concerns.
So Jonathan's here today, I'll kind of volunteer him, but also our district office reviews that permitting, so they'd be happy to talk to you about that, yes.
Somebody will.
We'll get you, yeah,
Okay.
Jonathan
during
will
the
get you
meet and
some
greet
contact
and-
information.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a question here, and then John had a question, but go ahead.
Well, this is just real quick. Which bridge is getting the redecking?
They're currently doing a redecking project on the Bay Bridge.
Yeah, there are two bridges.
The eastbound, the original.
The original one,
The
okay, it's
original,
getting.
the 73-year-old one.
Okay. Right.
John here.
Coming out of Pleasant Plains Road on St. Margaret's, making a left turn. 6:30 on Friday morning, I came out and I had to stop. I was the first car when the light changed. I had 4 or 5 cars behind me, lights flashing, the light didn't change, the light didn't change. They drove around me in the wrong lane, made a left turn, went through the light and kept on going. I called I think you call it the barn, and reported this. Nestor's theory was it was glare. At 6:30, there's no sun, I'm sorry, must have been moon glare. It was upsetting your timing. I'd like you to look at the timing.
Good point, thank you.
Pat, and then one in the
So
back.
I don't think I understand what's happening in 2025. When does that decision get made in terms of closing the roads? And which exits are going to be open and what times of day and which days? When will that decision be made and based on what?
So we will use our analysis, we're using the community feedback, we'll also have to look at budgetary concerns. So I don't have that answer right now, we haven't made decisions, we're analyzing all of that.
This past year was made in late spring. It was made in the April to May timeframe as to what would
For what was
begin.
gonna happen in-
It's starting in May, starting at Memorial Day. So that was just to give you what they did last year after having one season of looking at things. Pat, last question.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to State Highways
Oh, yeah.
and Will Pines for the work they've done to support us, even though our major problem on this peninsula is traffic in the summer months. But just one aspect of it, I got several calls complaining about the traffic lights on Pleasant Plains Road and on Route 50, on Whitehall and St. Margaret's. And the timings, everyone was complaining about the timings because there's no traffic and you're sitting there waiting for the cycle of lights to occur. And within a week, I had, these people came out and did whatever they did. But everybody who had called me was very pleased with the response that we got right away when I went to them and said, we got a problem, you gotta fix the timing. So, thank you, I know you got a lot of requests, but it looks like we've got additional problems. So if we can have a person, I don't want anybody calling me saying we're problem with timing, but is there a place that people can send their comments to that we can actually verbalize what our problems are by time of day, the details? Where would we go?
Jonathan, is there a phone number at the district office or something that we can?
Yeah.
All right, we'll get that out to you.
We can get it out to
We'll
you.
get it out.
Mhm.
Okay. Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am.
Call Jonathan. No, I'm just
Weekdays
kidding.
or weekends also? Weekdays only or weekends also?
Oh, and
Well, I mean, that they demand that they could respond to a problem.
It's not about responding to it, it's more about reporting it so they have an understanding when the timing is so they can actually send engineers out to reprogram and look at those moonlight issues as time changes and daylight savings times occur and things like
and if
that.
there are multiple people calling about the same thing. It'll
Right.
get more attention than if one person calls.
Right.
And we do have a 24-hour statewide operations center, and I can leave that number for you too if there's an emergency type concern.
Well, thank you very much. I think Amanda had one comment just on this subject.
Yeah, I know this room is typically very packed whenever you all are here, so I wanted to take this opportunity to say on behalf of the 5th District, especially the Broadneck Peninsula, if I could have printed out all of the emails and social media comments, I think it is wildly expressed and supported that we go back to the Thursday through Sunday and 2 ramps. That was my one point on that. I did want to thank Mr. Ferreira for bringing up the signs, specifically for the sign that is located off or on College Parkway at Baydale. Because of the one ramp closure this year and the weather, College Parkway was backed up significantly on a regular basis, and that particular sign created a queuing issue for a right-hand turn onto Baydale because people couldn't utilize the shoulder and the turn lane because it was right sitting literally in the lane. I do want to thank Senator Giles' office, Delegate Bagnall's office. Rory's here from Delegate Bagnall's office. Allison's here from Senator Giles' office. We just met this week to talk about the timing issue of the light at Old Mill Bottom and Pleasant Plains, and we hope to make some progress. Thank you for being a partner in that. I think we're looking for some big changes, including changing some of the signal heads so that there's not that glare issue, not only for the people sitting in their cars, but for the residents who are in that intersection who are getting light into their homes. That I don't think was ever the intention of State Highway at all. And
they are meeting in the field next week.
Perfect. And then finally, you were talking about the tour. The next county council meeting, which is October 7th, we will be having State Highway attend our council meeting at 6 p.m. And we will be talking about the priorities within the county, and State Highway will be talking about their priorities in the county. That's a great opportunity to see what may be coming in the future. It will be posted after our council meeting on the county website.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you for your time. So our next speaker, Councilwoman Fiedler, is a native here of the Broadneck Peninsula, fellow Broadneck Bruin, and is in her second term as our councilwoman at this point in time. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do want to recognize the candidates who came out this evening. I was really glad I wasn't one of them speaking. I've done it twice. It's a tough position to be in. So I appreciate them standing up and sharing their platform with you all. We just came off of the county council in July off of Region 4 comprehensive rezoning, which only happens every 10 years in our county. It happened 12 years prior. There was the 2-year delay due to COVID. But we have wrapped up Region 4 planning, which is a majority of District 5. It is all of the Broadneck Peninsula. It is most of, I would say, 95% of Severna Park. And that bill has become law now, and the zoning applications or the zoning changes that took place during that process are now officially the zones for the different parcels in the county. I won't get into each and every change that happened. We had thousands of changes to look at. There were more consistency changes, which were small tweaks to the map so that there was an alignment with the zone and parcels. But there was, I want to say about 60 applications that I looked at that were from property owners. And those, some were contentious, some were very easy. There was in my opinion, there was a general tension in the marina category. Our marina category, actually all of our categories are quite dated. Our zoning code hasn't been updated in several decades as far as a holistic change to the zoning code. We have old marinas in our county. We have a ton of shoreline in our county and not a lot of marinas. So we have in the Broadneck Peninsula specifically homes that are now residential homes that used to be used as slip rentals, as small businesses. But now there are folks who are living on those properties and still renting out, and they would like to do changes to their marina, upgrades, what have you, and their zone was prohibiting from expanding upon that. But then you have other marinas that are within communities that operated as yacht clubs. And the yacht club has restrictions on it that it not get to the commercial degree of a large-scale commercial marina. And that was a challenge when the larger group came in and purchased this yacht club and wanted to change its uses more to a large-scale commercial marina. So those across-the-board marinas were really tough subjects. Pedickery Point was a safe harbor marina application. Pedickery Point, as you all know, is off a access road on Route 50, down a very narrow road. Planning and zoning originally supported the idea of changing that property to a commercial marina. And I think that there was some confusion in the process, lack of communication. And then when the bill came to the county council with support to change to a commercial marina, the community was kind of caught on their heels, and they rallied very effectively and came out to council meetings. We made an effort. I see George in the back. He lives in the community. We made an effort to work with the new corporate organization, and we're trying to negotiate until literally the 11th hour on that property. I was on the phone with the corporate folks, and I said, you have 1 hour. I'm not joking. If I don't have an agreement signed by all parties in 1 hour, it's no deal. And I did get some information while I was sitting in the chair ready to start the meeting. We have come to an agreement. We agree to what the community wants. And I said, your hour has passed. I can't do anything at this point. So when I said I was going to work for the communities, I meant I'm working for the communities, and I hope that translated. We did have some marinas in Pasadena that were also controversial, PYY Marina and Geisler. They ended up in a good spot as well. Councilman Volke worked with the community to find a compromise, but this is why I share the marinas as being a really big focal point of comp zoning. I created a whole new marina zone because we had a marina in Orchard Beach that didn't have a place to land in our zoning code that was both what they needed to do some really good and important work on the property without concerns from residents. In this process, shifting gears a little bit, in this process, it is the county council that does comprehensive rezoning every year, or every 10 years. This is the one rare circumstance that the county executive has line item veto authority. So we passed the legislation, and the county executive felt that there were 2 major zoning changes worthy of a veto from his office. One of them was in Pasadena. There was a property off of Ember Drive that was R1 that the councilman for that area proposed changing to W2, one of our industrial zones. Reason being that there is an industrial operation already on the property. The veto that the county executive proposed was rejected and overridden by the county council by the same vote that the amendment to change the property passed on. So there was no change for that veto. The veto did not get through, I should say. The other veto was right here in District 5, Shottown Road. Shottown Road had applications to go from RLD to R1. In the initial legislation that came to the county council, all of those applicants were recommended to go to R1, but so were the properties around them who did not apply. So the properties around them that did not apply reached out to me and said, we don't want our property changed. We love the rural feel back here. We don't want any changes. I reached out to planning and zoning, and we started to have a conversation about spot zoning. Spot zoning has been historically told to the council that spot zoning is when you change the zone for one or two properties and it's out of alignment with the zoning of the properties around it. So it doesn't really, there's not a consistency in a condensed zoning area. So I thought about, doing a partial amendment. I thought about changing some and not others, but I kept going back to, we've been told spot zoning is when you do some for one or two properties in an area, but not for the rest. So I decided, even though the applicants had good reason to want to change the zoning of their property, decades ago it had been zoned a higher grade zone of R2, I believe. I had to go with the spot zoning law that we had been told about in the past. So I rejected the applications to go to R1 on Shottown Road and retained RLD in that entire area. Nobody was approved to go to R1. When our bill passed, the families from those communities came out and testified about the historical significance of the land, and that it used to be R2, and that they would like these parcels to be legacy parcels that they can build an additional home on for a family member. The county executive decided to split kind of right down the middle and veto only the properties that had applications, and where I kept them as RLD and did not move them forward with their zoning change, the county executive vetoed those and said, yes, they can move forward with R1. I could have fought it. I could have, dug my heels in and said, no, this is a rural area. This is what the folks who are neighbors to these properties that you're going to upzone, this is what they want. But at the end of the day, there was one thing that really stood out to me, and it was the division that this conversation was having among neighbors. And I did not like that, because what I heard from the opposition and what I heard from those who wanted their property zoning changed is that they all love the rural feel of Shottown Road. And the applicants for a higher zone property, said over and over again, we don't want to develop this. We don't want to turn these into large developments. We just want a home or two for our grandson or our uncle to live in. And everybody agreed that was fine. So I was fine with it. And I wish we didn't have to go through the bumpy, difficult discussion. It was very emotional. But that was the other veto that the county did put forward and that the council supported, including myself. There were other applications that were rejected. Shirleyville Road, which is off of Jones Station Road. It's an 11-acre property that is zoned RLD, and there was an application for R1. The county put it forward, recommended it as R1. Well, the residents on the other side of Shirleyville Road were staunchly against it. They didn't even know that an application had been put forward. So I did put an amendment in that retained the RLD zoning on that property, so that you would only have, one house per 3 to 5 acres versus one house per acre. So you would have 3 to 5 houses on that with the RLD. If the R1 went through, you could have had 10 to 13 houses. Broadneck Road and Middleton Road, that was another area that I retained, the lower density residential. Even though there were 2 applications that came in for a higher density zoning, I will say that in this whole process, you learn things that could be improved for future regions. 2 of the applicants did not know that after we went through the preliminary steps before the bill came to the county council, they didn't know, even though their property was recommended in the 2 prior steps to go to the higher zone, they didn't know that the council could change it. So they didn't come to me and say, please don't change this. I did not hear from them. I heard from the residents saying we don't want increased zoning, so I amended it back. So What I have asked OPZ to do in the future is make it abundantly clear to applicants that they have to stay with the process until the council votes on that bill. Because I think we lose some people who get a sense of security that they've been through the stakeholder advisory committee, they've been through the planning advisory board. It's a done deal, they're set. Well, no, there's another step. It comes to the council. The Arnold Pet Station, I'm trying to touch on some of the bigger ones, areas that you all are likely aware of. Arnold Pet Station is zone R1. Some people might find that surprising. It is now zoned C2. The property owner for that property has been operating under a variance and a non-conforming use agreement going back years and years and years. Our code is not very friendly to animal overnight stays and commercial kennels. So I am actually working on follow-up legislation now that the Arnold Pet Station has commercial zoning to allow for them to have a small scale overnight stay for some of their residents who don't do well at commercial kennels. And when I say residents, I mean obviously cats and dogs. So I do want to just say I campaign on comprehensive zoning and the general development plan in 2017, in 2022. Going into this, I knew that there was a lot of mistrust from citizens due to decisions that were made behind closed doors in previous comprehensive rezonings. I wanted to make sure that this was as transparent as possible. I tried to get the information to residents as much as I could so that you didn't have to seek it out. Our website isn't always the easiest to utilize. I hope you feel a sense of better trust in this process. I won't be here when it happens again. Even if I'm here for a third term, this is not going to happen again for 8 years. So I hope I have laid the path, and this council has laid the path for the next council that does comprehensive zoning and how it should be done so that residents feel like their voices are heard. And that's a summary on comprehensive zoning. I do have some notes on future upcoming legislation and
then we'll take questions at the end of that.
okay. We do have not really, I don't think of interest to this room, but District 5 goes all the way over to the Gambrels area where the dairy farm is and Wall Chapel Road. That's a new section for our district since the 2020 census came out. Region 3 has a little bit of District 5 in it in the Gambrels area. We'll be working on that early next year, and Region 5 comes right after that has a small section of Wall Chapel. Council legislation, recent and upcoming. There was a leaf blower bill that was before the council that was withdrawn. A lot of folks reached out on that. It will be coming back in some shape or form. I don't know. The sponsor of the bill realized that there were more layers to the onion to peel away. She withdrew it, but she has said that she's going to come forward with something else. I don't know what that is yet, so stay tuned. Not legislation related, but if you follow social media, you likely know that there is a first alert system on social media that lets you know about things happening in our county, police and fire related. The police department put out a press release that as of November 1, the police department is going to start using an encrypted radio channel because important and sensitive information is being transmitted on the channels that those social media pages have access to, and it really compromises a lot of things when you're talking about police instances and investigations. So you might see a change in pace of those social media pages that are posting that information. The Broadneck Trail Phase 3, I have been told it will be the Phase 3 section will be finished by the end of the year. I drive by it and I cannot comprehend how they're going to lay asphalt with leaves falling. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but that is what I have been told. And then finally, we have a 49-page bill in front of us. It's the moderately priced dwelling unit bill. It is a new attempt at a bill that wasn't quite in the right position from the county executive's office. This bill has 4 sponsors on it, which means it's going to pass in some way, shape, or form. But I think it is a huge improvement on the county executive's bill. What the bill requires is that any development that is 9 homes or more, might be 10 homes or more, will be required to set aside a certain percentage of units in the development that are either rental or home ownership units that are offered at a moderately priced sale point based on average household incomes, the Baltimore data that comes out every year. What that means for our area, I don't know. I'm still looking through the bill. One of the requirements is that the development has to be connected to water and sewer. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at our planned sewer map, our existing sewer service map, and I'm overlaying that with our district and undeveloped parcels to try to get an idea of the potential in our area, if it's great or not so great, because we are a significantly developed district already, although there are obviously parcels and areas where development could happen. We do have a housing crisis as far as affordable housing, and I'm talking the kids out of college, retirees. We do have we don't have a lot of units available in the county, but I also know that this district that we live in is very sensitive to development of any kind. I said one house coming online is stressful to our residents just because of the traffic. So I'm looking at it closely. I haven't determined where I am on the bill yet, but I just want to share that with you. It's 49 pages. If you have any questions on it, please reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer them.
No.
And that is it.
No. We'll take some questions.
Comments on the Ferguson Road Gun Club property?
I had that actually here on my list. Thank you. I will go back to that. So Ferguson Road was another application that came in. Ferguson Road, when you get off of Route 50 for Old Mill Bottom Road and you can either go straight to the stop sign and make a left towards Red Hot and Blue, or a right. There is a wooded area between the car dealership and the corner, the turn into St. Margaret's. There is actually a house in there. There is a gated driveway. It's kind of shaped like a bowl. The property is shaped like a bowl. There's a house that sits right down inside of the bowl. They had applied for a C4 zoning change from RLD. The reason that they gave for this application was that they are often impacted by the parking and car delivery for the dealerships. But more importantly, there is a gun club behind the property that is under operation under a non-conforming use, meaning they were once legal, the law changed, but the county allows you to stay there so long as you file paperwork for non-conforming use every year. When they purchased the house, they either did not realize how active the gun club was, didn't know about it too much, but over the years, the gun club has grown in either membership or the number of firearms that they allow on the premise. So it has become a real nuisance property and an unlivable property for them. I actually was contemplating a commercial change at one point in time because I really felt for these people. And I put out a PDF that explained the history on the property, talked about the gun club, talked about the parking and the dealerships next door. But it was pretty clear from the feedback that the district was in strong opposition to any commercial. So I said, I can't move forward with this zoning change. Thank you, and I hope you understand the position I am in, that I represent the district. They did a good job, the owners and the folks that they were working with, and they went to my colleagues and lobbied my colleagues, which is not unheard of when we were working on the zoning changes in the Annapolis area. There was a property owner who came to the council and asked us to change a zone to small business that was residential, and the majority of the council, it just seemed like such a no-brainer. So we went against the will of the representative for District 6. The same thing happened here. My colleagues felt that I was making a wrong decision, and they put in an amendment that changed the property to C2, and it passed. So that property is now zone C2. What I found interesting about that whole general area is that planning and zoning also recommended the 2 parcels next to Red Hot and Blue to change to commercial. To me, that presents more of commercial creep than the Ferguson Road parcel, but I got 2 emails in opposition to that change. So it was very interesting how constituents and residents felt more okay with those 2 parcels going to commercial, but the Ferguson Road one was strong opposition. So that is now C2.
That will be parking for the car dealerships.
So storage, this is one of the reasons that they wanted C4. Outdoor storage is not permitted in any other commercial district other than C4. You can have a parking lot, but you can't store vehicles.
Question about that.
Yeah, I haven't been following the gun club thing, but is that county property that was leased?
The gun club?
Yeah.
No, it's not county property now, no. Maybe it was at one point in time, but it's owned by, no. Mm-mm. What is government property is the property between the residential bowl, as I call it, and the dealerships. There is a parcel in between that is owned by the state. There was once a house on that property. The state took that property by eminent domain years ago, and they intend to use that parcel for staging when they build the new / replacement Bay Bridge. The state also owns the wooded area that when you wrap around and you take that access, that ramp to get to Old Mill Bottom Road, all of that forested green area in the center, that's also state owned. When the state built the interconnect up north, they used every inch of land for staging, including those center areas on ramps. So when a new bridge comes in 2039, did you say? We can expect that those areas will be, trees will be removed, and it will be a very industrial look.
Yeah, I guess it was,
Yeah.
50 years ago when it was county property or something, but I was just curious.
Sorry, that was a very long answer to your question.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, that, you kind of got grandfathered in or something. I don't know what the background is on that.
I think the name is misleading also because it's Anne Arundel Fish and Game Association.
Yes.
So it's not the county, but their name is the Anne Arundel Fish and Game Association, so.
Yeah.
How long has that been there, do you know?
30 plus years.
Yeah.
Long as I
Long as I've lived here.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that the car dealerships don't provide parking for their workers?
Space. So
Cramming too much business in too little space is what the reason is.
I don't know this for certain, but there are certain parking requirements that our county code requires for any type of commercial development. In the development process, a developer can ask for a modification to parking or whatever they're required to do. I think there was a modification given to those parcels years and years and years ago that they did not have to supply the amount of parking that car dealerships had, and now we see the end result of that. County's doing it differently now.
Steve?
Oh, Steve.
Yeah. Councilwoman, as you form your opinion on the MPDU bill,
Mhm.
3 areas I'd ask you to take a look at.
Okay.
And one of them is the reduction in open area, was open space.
By 10%.
And also the active recreation area. Many cluster communities have seen that active recreation areas were either minimized or eliminated completely. And when you have cluster communities, you need green space out there for the community. The other thing that should be looked at is the state is going to change the requirements for stormwater management here in the next 2 years. It's going to go from 2.7 to 3 inches for a one-year storm. They need to take a look at whether or not that is also helping to promote this reduction in open area, because it only goes to one solution, which is stormwater management ponds. And are the communities going to own those?
Yep.
Because we moved away from that. And then the final thing is, take a look at the impact on HOAs. When you add these MPDU units, dwellings, into the communities, are those owners still going to have to follow all the declarations that the rest of the owners follow? In terms of assessments, fines, collections, particularly if it's possible that that home won't be owned by them, but it could be owned by the administration that's going to run the program.
That's a great question. I'll definitely look into this.
I don't know if it's a good question to bring up or not. Is there any update on the Whitehall estate?
So I did hear from both the senator and congressman's office that it had a favorable discussion in committee. They are going to be tweaking some of the bill from the feedback that they were given during the committee, and they're hoping to present it in its amended form in a package. As you all probably know, the federal government can package their bills together and vote in a block, whereas county and state, I believe, I don't think state can package either, do individual bills. So that was the feedback that I got. I was not given a timeline estimate.
They do have to pass something by January, or else
Yes.
it's a new Congress and you have to reintroduce.
Yep.
So there's a ticking clock and they're off.
So there is something that has been introduced?
Yeah, there was something introduced last year by both the senator and the Congress, Sarbanes, and it's been read in the committees. You can go and find it online and trace it through, and it was reread this summer, and then that's what got it into committee to discuss. But given that they're off something like 16 of the next 20 weeks, there's limited time to get it done, but it's not to say they won't get it done. We shall see.
We shall see.
Anybody else? No? I want to thank the councilwoman for coming out and speaking. Thank State Highways for coming out, and we'll look forward for information. And being respectful to everybody's time, we're going to adjourn the general meeting. Oh, you got something, Harlow?
Can I bring up something that doesn't really have to do with them?
What's that?
It's related to campaigning. Those that don't know me, my name is Harlow and I don't speak well. Next week I'll be here, next month I'll be here 50 years. And I saw something tonight I've never seen. I was in my front yard. And I'm going to try to show this without the person named on it. But this is a little campaign bag. And I was in my front yard and this thing flew out of the car window into the street in front of my house. Never seen that before. I thought it was a potato chip bag. After I saw the lights on in the clubhouse, I walked to look between the buildings here and saw headlights, or brake lights, which I was pretty sure it was the car, little silver car. In this bag, first the bag has a hole, you can hang it on a doorknob of a house or a mailbox, which you're not supposed to do. In this bag is a rock. So when they throw it, the bag will fly. This was about 6 feet from one of my cars. So I looked up the road and I saw more. So I rode all the way up the mountaintop. I gathered 10 bags. Nobody should campaign like that.
Correct.
Absolutely nobody. I'll put this in your hands.
Yes, sir.
Thank
you,
address the person.
Yes, sir.
But more care, if those people are here, I don't know if they're here, should take a different look at how you campaign.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought
She's
that was a
elected.
good
She paid to
speaker.
speak.
Amanda's top.
Thank you.
So.
Can you tell my kids that?
So we're going to wrap up and adjourn. Appreciate everybody coming out. We again will plan to have another quarterly meeting before the end of the year. Maybe we'll have State Highway final results on information where we'll get a little bit closer to what decisions we made next year. There's other legislation that I know the Broadneck Council will be looking at with regards to our state representatives here upcoming as they get ready for session next year. There's a lot of things to get on the agenda around November, and we want to be part of that process. We want to be part of the Holly Beach Farm Solution and Advisory Committee, and that's something the Broadneck Council has reached out to our DNR representatives who are taking over the park to ensure that we're on that advisory committee so that we can help maybe limit the access to it as an open park and maybe, you know, ideas that we've tossed around, make it more an educational research center, like its original intention, make it more like a Jug Bay where you can visit and learn things. Maybe they do comprehensive stormwater management projects here in the Annapolis area on public grounds that communities can go out and visit so that communities like Cape St. Clair don't have to be the test for $2 million worth of projects. We did it right, but that would be a huge learning benefit for those in the Bay and communities as we all look to protect shorelines, improve the shorelines, improve the health of the Bay. So we're active. Again, we're looking for other member communities or members to join us. You can follow us on Facebook. We're not on Instagram or Twitter. The average age of our group doesn't design for that. So, but we look forward to hopefully seeing you guys in the future. But please do take the next 30 minutes or so. There's refreshments, some water, meet and greet, and I'll kick you out at 9 o'clock.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.